Welcome to episode 3 of Ask Trent, where I answer your questions so that you know that you're not alone in this journey. The question is, would the time of day have a negative or positive effect on an athlete or elite ballet dancer's performance? So I want to start with the negative first, because that's really easy. The negative aspect of this is very simple. There's a negative effect when you're playing the game that is way too easy or way too hard. Because in those ends of the spectrum, you're not going to be engaging the brain in a productive way to actually incorporate reinforcing and strengthening and improving how your senses are working and how your brain is functioning. So let me give you my best strategies for when to use the different types of games so that you can best optimize the application. So first, let's look at the warm-up. You know, every athlete, hopefully, and every dancer, hopefully, has a warm-up routine that they do that happens even before class or practice rehearsal begins. And it's really an important thing to incorporate sensory training into that warm-up. And so what I mean by sensory training is, of course, having eyes move in all directions, coordinating together at different speeds, incorporating head movement, both with the eyes moving and tracking the ball, but also with the eyes holding still and having the head move. And these exercises tie directly to what's required of a dancer. You have to be able to think quickly, remember lots of information, move freely in your body. And if you have a weak, imbalanced any part of your body, especially in your senses, it greatly affects your ability to perform. So imagine if you're a dancer and you're trying to turn, but you have an inner ear imbalance where you don't quite have an idea where the horizon is, you really don't have a sharp idea where you are in space, then your turns are off and you're falling out of your turns and you can't quite stay engaged in the whole process. So by strengthening the inner ear and working on visual tracking, you are supporting what you're already able to do, but then also filling in gaps to expand your abilities in your dancing. So that warm-up aspect is really essential. And after you're done dancing, after the day or the week or a long performance where you have done a lot of repetitive movement over and over again to one side more than the other, turning to one side more than the other, lifting with one arm more than the other, jumping off of one leg more than the other, it creates a lot of imbalances in your body. And so using the brain speed ball as a recovery tool is a really smart strategy, because you can then restore some balances to your system, which then prepares you for the next day. So you have this cycle of warming up your senses, using them, and in any sport you're going to be overusing them and imbalancing, then recovering so that you're ready for the next day. So that you keep yourself in a healthy cycle, not just in your joints and your muscles being flexible and strong, but that your senses are flexible and strong. And that's really what it comes down to. That's why there's just always a positive outcome when you're improving the strength of your senses, when you improve the range of motion of your senses. Your eyes have a big range of motion. It's going to make your sport, your dancing easier. Turning is going to be easier. You're going to have better balance. And it's not something that you're going to have to think about and work at, because you'll have strengthened the components necessary to support you in those activities. So going back to the negative for a second, it's really important that, if you have a negative side effect, for example, you're playing the ball and you feel like your turns didn't improve or maybe they got worse, I want you to look at the game that you're playing and making sure that it's challenging enough. It's really easy to play a game that's not hard enough, that you can catch the ball every time, that it doesn't feel challenging. So you want to make sure that the game is challenging every time so that you can get the outcomes that you're looking for. So just a little bit of a word to the wise that you might feel like, yeah, this game is fun, but is it also challenging? Because you're looking to create improvements as well as get yourself ready for your class or your performance. So that's really those two components, the improvements and the preparation, are built into the games. And so when you look at just the basic rules of the game, fun is always required, because when it's fun, the brain is engaged and it keeps it curious about what you're doing and what you're experiencing. Challenge is essential also, because you want the brain to be developing and you want the senses to getting stronger. And then you want to keep it creative so that it stays new and fresh feeling. So those game rules that are always essential components of the game support you as a dancer. The other thing that I would look at is that right before bed, this is where I would shift the game into a very low key. I wouldn't do a big rousing game of brain speed ball right before bed because you're probably going to be very alert and very awake as a result of that. So when you're looking to settle yourself, calm yourself down, get ready for bed, get ready for rest, that's where I would slow down and really just do maybe some really simple head tracking, some simple bounces off the wall, just to get your system to regulate, to settle down. Do some breathing exercises. Every time you catch the ball, take a long sustained breath. Take a couple counts and hold your breath just to regulate and kind of downshift your system. So as an athlete, as a ballet dancer, the brain speed ball is a really useful tool. And if you have more questions on how to use it and leverage it for your sport, for your dancing, put those questions in the comments and let me know. And I'm sure there's others in the community that would be happy to help support what you're going through, but also learn from the stories that you share. So thank you for tuning in to this episode of Ask Trent. I'll see you next time.